here he is with Brett Baer on Fox.
As we showed you earlier, the president's public response to the terror attacks was actually pretty brief, fairly low-key. Let's get reaction now from syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. He's in Washington tonight. Charles, he obviously topped off that speech with a statement about the attacks and how the world needs to be unified. This trip is obviously being overshadowed now by the events in Brussels.
Well, Obama gave the terror bombing 51 seconds of his speech today in Havana. I thought the whole story of this presidency and its foreign policy was seen in the split screen. On one side you had the video footage of the attack in Belgium. This is the real world. And on the other side was Obama in the fantasy world he inhabits, where Cuba is of some geopolitical significance in his mind, but none in the real world. If Cuba disappeared tomorrow in a volcanic eruption like Santorini, nobody would notice geopolitically. But Obama had to go because this is legacy. This is settling the Cold War arguments of the academic left of Obama's Columbia University days. The people who worship the Cuban Revolution, the Sandinistas. Obama had his picture taken in front of a relief of Che Guevara, which sort of stated his worldview of his adolescent days, and now he does it as president. On the one hand is the real threat to the world. You heard from Chairman McCall, this is hair-raising stuff, that the Belgians are completely outmanned, the Europeans have no way of tracking, and that we are completely in the blind. We don't know what we don't know. That's the real world. Obama calls it the JV team. He pretends it's contained and controlled. It is not. Instead, he does this sort of ideological holiday trip in Cuba while the world burns.
So, yeah, I like that. He acts like it's not a threat. He acts like nothing's happening, and he has no choice because he doesn't want to do anything about it.
No.
He's just done with it.
Right.
And if you're an isolationist, you're probably going to maybe not ignore it or act like it's not a threat, but you're just going to be within yourself, within your borders, and say, you know what, I know it's out there, but I dare you to try to attack us.
Right.
And then in the meantime, start an arms build. You just got to build, because you know it's coming. There's no way around it. It's coming, and you're going to have to fight it when it comes. That's what being an isolationist is about. But in Obama's case, it's like he's not being an isolationist, but he knows that politically it's going to hurt him by acknowledging that it's even a problem, part of which he kind of is the architect of.
You're correct, and it goes along with my premise that the innocent people will beg for them to give protection. And that's what they're banking on, because that's all they've got. So while Brussels and the world, as Krauthammer said, the world is burning, which it is.
And what's up with the picture with him and Che Guevara? I mean, if you've seen that, if you haven't seen that, you've been living under a rock.
There's a group, him, Castro, and an entourage are standing like in a square area, like a real open area.
Wait, before you go any further, I was listening to radio, and they were describing this picture before I ever saw it.
Am I doing a good job at it?
Well, what I wanted to point out was that they said there's a mural or like a spray painted thing of Che Guevara in the picture. So what I was imagining was there's Obama, and he's just kind of in a candid shot. I was imagining a candid shot, and somewhere in the background, somewhere around there, was like this little thing, maybe some sort of a painting or something of Che Guevara somewhere in the background. No, that did not do it justice at all.
Right, you've got to go.
It was not a candid shot at all.
You've got to go to Facebook.com/Smith Radio. You've got to go to Smith Radio. And the way this is set up is that there is a building in the background of the picture.
This mural's got to be 20, 30 feet high.
Right, and it's like steel framed and around real artistic like. It's it probably spent millions of dollars to make it, whatever, and it is the silhouette.
It's hard to tell how close that wall is to them.
It's pretty far back there.
Which means if it's far back, that's a huge mural.
That's at least one city block, maybe 2 blocks back. It's got to be.
Well, if that's the case, it's got to be like a 30-foot high mural. So the only thing in the background, in the center, and the way the picture was taken, everybody in that picture posed there specifically to get taken a picture with Che Guevara.
Okay.
Clearly. And it's not a candid shot. They're all standing in the position of attention.
Correct.
Which, for those of you in the military know, is up straight, shoulders back, looking forward, thumbs along the trouser seams, heels together, feet at a 45-degree angle. That's what they all look like.
Right. Now, for those of you who may be too young to know Che Guevara has become the most... his picture has become the most famous picture
that's been misused,
and his picture and the famousness of the picture of someone who is absolutely infamous, which is just unbelievable. But that's what the left does.
You'll see a lot of kids wearing the shirt because they think it just means rebel.
It's a rebel, right? And he was with Castro in the rebellion against the Batista regime, which was suppressive dictatorship. He robbed and stole, and he it was so bad that the American capitalists ran from the country because he was robbing and stealing from the casinos and all the merchants. He up and up left. Castro and Che, after a year and some change, finally gained power of Cuba. After a little while, though, Castro said, "Hey, Che, hearing some bad things about you, man, and no. I mean, I'm all right with it, but it's so bad that maybe you can help spread this communism in South America. You probably ought to take a trip.
Okay,
probably spread." It was so bad. At one point in time, he had the contractors come into his office, and there was a wall, a big giant solid concrete wall. And on the other side of that concrete wall that had no windows was the area that the firing squad would shoot people. Okay. That's where the firing squad took place, on the other side of his office, but it was through a concrete wall. He had contractors come in and make the entire wall glass because he wanted to watch it.
Okay.
He loved watching that firing squad.
This is Che, not Castro. Okay.
This is Che.
So he's kind of a violent person.
Extremely. He loved killing. He was just really just a bad man. So he went to South America to try and spread communism. And ironically, he was being hunted by some of the local governments for crimes against humanity.
Which all communists are guilty of crimes against humanity.
So I believe...
by definition.
Yes. I believe he wound up... and forgive me if I'm wrong. I believe he wound up somewhere in Bolivia. And
he went to Bolivia, like Mike Tyson?
Correct.
Remember that interview?
Oh, man.
We got to find that interview. But anyway, go ahead.
And he started to... gather up these farmers, and he was trying to get these farmers to start a union, to unionize these farmers, these local farmer workers. And the farmers said, "What? That doesn't make any sense. Why would we do that when what we're doing now works phenomenal?" These farmers were capitalists.
Oh, yeah.
They corralled him, got him in a place called the government, and they came in, got him, and killed him. Just he died. He died at the hand of the capitalist. It's just a beautiful
So
thing.
what are you saying? The capitalists are a bunch of violent killers, murderers?
They will attempt to eradicate anyone who infringes on their freedoms.
God-given rights.
Yes.
And you know what? People should definitely be removed from society if you are trying to prevent people from having their God-given rights.
Right. So there's another picture that came out, and I turned it into a meme. There is a picture of Cuba. Somebody is in Cuba, on the ground in a town near the airport, and he snapped a photo of Air Force One leaving the airport and just above the telephone line. So it's like he just took, Air Force One just took off, and he's got the picture of the cars, the people, the shacks, the shanty town. He's got all that in the picture, as well as Air Force One. Posted that, and it's unbelievable the stark comparison of 1950 Cuba in 2016 American 747 jet airliner Air Force One flying over that country. It's just stark comparison. So I made it into a meme, and I put at the top of the picture where the Air Force One is, I put in big bold letters, capitalism. And at the bottom, where all the people are, they're still fighting a good fight, I put communism. And that is exactly, this is the perfect picture for our cause, for what we do here at Smith Radio. This is what Obama would love to have in America. He even said it when he was there. It was just it's so pathetic. This thing that they're trying to do to the greatest nation human beings have ever seen.
Yeah, it is a really, how old do you think those cars really are? Here's my question. Are those cars actually from the 50s, or are they still using the same design and those are like modern cars? They're still using the same molds and they're assembling cars. Like back in 1957, they came out with the 57 Chevy, very popular car. And the reason I ask that is because these cars look remarkably preserved. I don't think they were preserved. I bet you those were assembled a couple years ago.
When I was in Italy during the 90s on my, just a jaunt, if you will, just a little holiday. Mm-hmm. That was in the Air Force. I'm stationed in Italy, and this is, mid-90s, and you could take a car, you could take a vehicle over, one vehicle. If you're in the military, they'll send you one vehicle to go with you. And the American vehicles in Italy, there were roads that we were told we couldn't go down because there would be a bridge that would come up, or like an underpass, like you'd go under a bridge, you won't fit.
Like they were that low?
Or that narrow.
Oh, the narrow, okay. Mm-hmm.
Or if you were going through that bridge and another car was coming by you, you would wreck into them. That narrow. Okay. That's the roads. All the roads are completely flat. They're not banked, and they're not crowned to wash the water off. They're all completely flat roads and no lines on the side. It's just unbelievably rural roads. All the cars that they drive up, not all, but the mass majority of the cars they drive over there are from the 70s. And they look in great condition.
Do they take care of them, or is that how they're building them?
They say that's all the money that they've got is to keep putting pennies and dollars into them to keep maintaining it. I don't have the money for a new car ever.
So they're just replacing parts as they break.
That's right.
I mean, I'm just wondering because, I'm looking at the picture that you have here, and there's not even rust on them. And they're in Cuba, which is going to have lots of salt water from the ocean. They get hurricanes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm amazed. They must have a great corrosion control program.
Well, you would think that the salt water in the ocean would wreak havoc, but it's not as much as you would think here in the Midwest with the salt on the road for the snow.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Out in L.A., I mean, you see a lot of people drive